everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Research Works podcast. We are here at EACD, Galway, Ireland 2026. We have been bringing you lots of episodes. I hope you've been enjoying them. A huge variety of topics from a multidisciplinary group of researchers and clinicians from all over the globe. So I'm hoping it's given you a bit of a perspective of what's been really happening here at EACD. There's a lot to cover. This conference is quite big and quite wide-ranging, but you know, there's some really important topics that I think really are really highlighting the F words in our practice and just really wanting to bring to you things that are really practical for clinicians. And our next guest is practical to her core, I would say, able to put real research into practice. Welcome back to the podcast, now live in person, Rosalind Livingstone. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Normally we talk online,
yes,
and normally our time difference is not favourable.
No, it's not. I'm either very, very early in the morning or you're very late at night.
Yeah, I think the last time we spoke, I think it was like 8 p.m. my time and maybe 5 a.m. your time.
5 a.m.
Yeah, so, I mean, you had to get up early, but I was flailing by 8 p.m. By the time we finished the episode, it was 9 p.m. So it's not easy for either way. This is nice. This is good.
This is very nice.
You are embarking on your PhD. How fabulous. And I love the topic of what you're looking at. And this is part of your work for your PhD.
Yes.
It is titled Power and Mobility Experience, Meaning and Outcomes for Children with Complex Non-Ambulant Cerebral Palsy. It is a scoping review. You are no stranger to scoping reviews.
No. That's true.
Why scoping review in this instance?
In this instance?
Yeah.
Well, I had started looking at doing another systematic review on a more a population of younger children that hadn't been covered in anything recently, because I've done systematic reviews of the outcomes for all children. And in my PhD, I really wanted to focus on this more complex population of GMFCS 4 and 5, and also the children with more limited hand function and additional impairments, because that's really the population that's close to my heart, that I believe can have the most benefit, that are the most limited in their other opportunities for exploratory behavior and learning from development. So that's really what I wanted to focus on. But when I started to think about the studies that I wanted to do, I realized that we don't really know how many children of this complexity are using power mobility, and in what ways are they using power mobility? Is it just that early experience with toys? Are they using power wheelchairs? Yeah. I've heard therapists say, well, they're using a power wheelchair, so that means they're GMFCS 4. It's like, no, because that just means they're accessing that equipment.
Yeah, sure.
And I thought, I've had experience of children at GMFCS 5, very complex, using power mobility, and I wanted to look at that. So scoping review, because I felt I needed to map the whole of the literature and look at the profiles of the children who were using power, what ways they were using power, at what ages, and what devices, and also the access methods. Were they using their hands? Were they using their heads? Like, what was reported in the literature? And so a systematic review, you're getting more into the effectiveness in relation to certain outcomes.
Yes.
With the scoping review, I wanted to take an overview of the evidence first and have something that I could really reference and refer to.
Sure.
And I'm going to do the systematic review as well, just because I'm really ridiculously can't stop doing these kind of projects or something.
It feels like a sucker for punishment, and it does take. It's hard work. It's not an easy thing to do, is it? And I'm so glad there's people that have the brains that can really take the time to look at the literature, because it's a funny thing when you talk about power mobility, and we'll go into it more when we look at your scoping review. For me, when I think about power mobility, I think we've been doing it for a long time, but at the same time, I'm not sure everyone who should be using it is using it. And it's this really weird conflict in my head to go, well, everyone should be using it, but then they're not. And so where is the evidence on it now? And what is the current state? And so I'm so glad that you have done this, because I think we need to always have these, I feel like scoping reviews and systematic reviews like time stops. You just kind of go, okay, wait, let's have a look at it now, and then let's move forward, because there's just so much that gets published.
Yes.
Isn't there? And
yes.
So many different outcomes, which is the whole point of this.
Huge.
Okay, all right. So tell me what was included in this particular scoping review? I mean, should we go what was excluded? Is that easier?
What was excluded? We didn't exclude anything by publication status. We didn't restrict languages.
Wow.
We basically included it all, everything
Brilliant.
that was public. I mean, not maybe newspaper articles, but
we draw the line. Okay.
Okay. But case reports.
Wow. Wow. Really
We didn't include other reviews.
Sure.
But any kind of primary study or qualitative study, and not descriptive or opinion pieces, but that was basically all we excluded.
And how many articles did you find and were included in the scoping review?
It ended up being 117 actual articles.
Wow.
And when we looked at them, there are some studies that have many publications.
Wow,
So it was actually 90 unique studies.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that often does happen, doesn't it? The multiple, you're like, oh, I found so many. Actually, they're from the same study. Okay.
Yeah, because the different outcomes. So yes, some studies had 5 or 6 publications. So I tried to put that in the table, is to basically say this is the primary study and here are the associated publications.
Right. Okay, so still 90 studies. And then you really mapped everything according to the F words and the IHAT framework.
Yes.
F words, something that we all should be very familiar with by now.
Yes.
We talk about it a lot. We've talked about through the entire conference series so far.
Yes.
But IHAT is something that probably people are not as familiar with. Interdependence Human Activity Assistance Technology Framework. Can you talk us through, in a bit of a nutshell, what that actually is?
Well, the HAT framework, or Human Activity Assistive Technology Framework,
the latter part of it,
is the most familiar model for assistive technology. And I have worked in assistive technology, seating, positioning, mobility for decades. And so that's one of the models in assistive technology. And then a few years ago, I think around 2020, an OT called Fannie Lee in Chicago, I think, was doing her PhD, and she incorporated work on interdependence with the HAT framework, and she called it the IHAT.
Okay.
And when I read about her work, that really spoke to me, because so many of our kids are not independent in the traditional way that we think about providing a piece of assistive technology that the person uses a replacement for some kind of functioning, and they become completely independent if you give them that piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Most of our kids are interdependent with other people, with the equipment. It's interdependent with the context. It's all together. So I first thought about this with the paper that Ginny Peleg and I were writing on supported standing and supported stepping and why children might need both. And just thinking that when you're choosing a device or a piece of equipment, you're not just thinking about what the child needs, but you're thinking about how are they going to be transferred into that piece of equipment? Who's going to be using it with them?
Yeah.
Who's going to be interacting? How is that going to allow them to relate with peers or siblings, other people?
Interesting.
So it's everybody, all the relevant parties that are working with the child.
And I think that term, it feels quite new to me, in the sense that I think it's so easy for us to talk about independence, isn't it?
Yes.
Because that seems to be what we aim for.
Yes.
And lately I've been looking at how we report on some of the outcomes, and and I think I've actually had some parents come to me before and go, look, they're not really independent because I still need to be there. And from the perspective of funding and funding bodies, supporting parents with, say, support workers, the reason why you have additional people to help is really important from a transfer. Like, we're not expecting a GMFCS5 adolescent to be independent in their transfers. That's not possible.
Right.
But they actually need someone with them, and then they can actually participate really well when they do have that.
Yes.
So interdependence bridges that gap.
Yes.
Really interesting.
Yes. And we're all interdependent in so many ways.
Yeah, that's right. Let's be clear about that.
Yes. Yes.
A form of interdependence. We might refer back to Ginny Paley. She did say in her previous episode with us that you are the other part of her brain and you help her to function. And that's just a great friendship and a research partnership.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right. So back to this then. What were your main findings? What was your big sort of overarching finding? And did anything surprise you?
Yes. Well, we had, quite a huge number. We had, I think, 916 children were reported across 21 countries.
Wow.
We did have a couple of lower middle income countries included, but it's probably about 1% of the total that's in there. So that is definitely an area that we need to think about.
Yeah.
How is that going to be possible? I think for, I'm trying to remember, 41 of the studies, more than half the studies, I think, were in North America.
Okay.
But there's a lot of studies across various countries, and it ends up like when you look at the population, it's more like a third. So pretty good distribution across Europe, predominantly. Not so, and we have some, countries in Asia. I think only one from Australia. The Australians are really behind there.
No. Okay, all right. Call to action. Thank you.
Call to action.
Yeah,
we need more. We need more studies there. One thing was that we couldn't always determine the GMFCS level.
Okay.
Some were reported probably like 2/3 of the kids were more like GMFCS4s, and about a third GMFCS5s. But we had a big portion that we could only say they were 4s or 5s, just because it wasn't reported. And we did go back and talk to the authors if we could to get that information.
Wow, yep.
Only about a third of the studies actually reported the max levels or the hand function, which did surprise me.
Right. Given the methodology of often driving is with hands.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Or they didn't actually explain. They didn't even say how they were using it. It was just they acted as
some
if
sort of assumption related there, isn't there? We assume, but
everybody.
We know there's many ways. Yeah.
Yes. So there was only a very few studies where that was really specified, because I did want to kind of try to map how that related GMFCS and max levels and what access method was being used, and perhaps relating that to the devices and the length of training. That's kind of what I'm interested in.
Right. Yeah.
That's not really reported. So I could only look at it for a very small number of studies.
Sure.
What's not surprising is that the vast majority of kids were using joysticks with their hands.
Okay.
With the power wheelchairs, with the ride-on toys, it's pretty much more switches. Because only a few are able to be used with a joystick.
Yes.
What did surprise me is that although most of the kids who used switches or used other access sites like their hands or their feet were GMFCS and Max 5.
Okay.
There was some unexpected variability, I would say.
Okay.
There was quite a few GMFCS and Max 5s who were using joysticks.
Right.
Which, given that the amount of hand use you should have, the question is, was the max level wrong, or is it other factors that we need to consider, like movement disorders or other impairments, or is it contextually driven that you can only get funding for a joystick in the locations? And there were also a few kids who appeared to have much better hand use, but were using alternate access methods.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So it just comes down to, I mean, my interpretation of that is it comes down to what is the framework and the model when prescribing
Yes.
equipment and what best matches with the child. Is there anything that we can draw from that, or any thoughts from you?
Well, I mean, I would say that when people are describing their samples, give more detail.
You always do that once you do a scoping review. Come on, guys, report more on your outcomes, don't you?
Describe your population really well.
Yeah, that's right.
Because there must be other factors, but I do think, we need more studies looking at this.
And were you able to glean from this, like, what the experience was? Like, were you able to see that it was largely a positive experience? Was it a, what is it? Is it
hugely positive?
Sure.
We did map, all those, family, fun and friends outcomes, like social and play participation. That came out really well.
Yep.
Independence was also mentioned hugely, although we've said a lot of that is more interdependence.
Yeah.
But thinking about fitness outcomes, that's always a challenge for power mobility. People think, well, if you put them in a power wheelchair, they're not developing their fitness. You wouldn't be addressing that. But it's also about mental fitness. So thinking about how power mobility was promoting the children's overall development and their emotional health, like that self-efficacy, child agency, initiation, motivation, all those things.
That's really interesting, and how that sort of really expands from the word fitness, isn't it? It's thinking about the multidimensional aspects of that, which is an important point. What about barriers? Were they well reported in terms of what were the things that really restricted the use and experience?
Yes, and they're surprisingly similar. I did want to look at, were there differences across settings, across ages? And really there weren't. Like, worldwide, it's pretty much all the same things.
Right.
Negative attitudes, lack of support are
Negative
major
attitudes
barriers.
from other people in their contact. Well, okay, yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, physical environment barriers.
Sure.
Transportation is huge. Doesn't matter whether you're talking about not being able to get funding for a wheelchair van, not being able to get your power wheelchair on the bus, not having good roads, and, depending on the location. Yeah. And also the weather.
Fair.
Either too hot or too cold, maybe
wet.
too windy, too much snow, too much mud. There were differences, but it was the same theme across all.
Really interesting. And I think obviously this serves as a really important step for your PhD. But for clinicians who are listening to this conversation and looking at this paper, what can they pull from this paper that can help them in their decision making or what they're doing in their practice now?
I think just really to think about the opportunities for children who are more complex. People often get hung up on the idea of, I need to know which children are going to be appropriate for power mobility in order to introduce it and give them that experience. And they sort of think that as who's going to be the independent power wheelchair user in the community in the long run. Well, looking at the literature, we don't actually know that. It totally surprises us sometimes. Children who have the same kind of profile, some will go on to be successful and some will not. And a lot of that is about context and it's about opportunity. So I think about power mobility experience as opportunity for exploration and development. It's about driving to learn. It's not about learning to drive. And so children at GMFCS 4 and 5 have the most limited opportunities to use other methods of exploration, especially early on. And to be able, if you can use those early experiences, and then you see where that takes the child.
Great.
And then the family will often drive the discussion further.
That's right, because they'll see how it works within their context, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was the youngest in this population that started using power mobility?
Well, the reports from 10 months using the ride-on toys.
There you go.
And actually from 12 months in power wheelchairs.
Wow.
Which is impressive.
It is, isn't it? I think that is exciting and interesting in itself that has now been published as well. So that's fantastic. Ros, I've been asking everyone this question, given this is a very F words conference and this is a very F words paper as well.
Yeah.
What would your advice be for clinicians to implement more F words into their everyday practice? What would your advice be?
I guess really to think about starting from the family and thinking about how you're addressing things that they want to do with their child, and the child having fun and being able to engage in fun activities, and mobility is a big part of that.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good. Rosalind, thank you so much for speaking with us about this scope and review. All the best for the upcoming work. I'm sure we'll speak more soon about everything that's happening, and it's really important. And like I said, it's a really important topic. But there's a lot of variability out there, isn't there?
Yes.
We do need some guidance. So thank you very much for doing this work.
Thank you.
Thank you. To all of our listeners, I hope you really enjoyed that and you can get something out of that in terms of what you can implement into your practice. And it really does tick all the boxes when it comes to the F words. And what I find interesting in that is, fitness goes beyond just the physical activity fitness. And I really loved how you brought that up, Ros. So thank you so much. There's so much more to come. Of course, I'll talk to you all again really soon. Bye.